Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn at pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
And welcome. Welcome. It's January 5th, and the word of the day is
Georgia, the whole day through.
oh yeah.
Just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Georgia on my mind.
Oh yeah, ain't it true? Ain't it true? It's also a Tuesday, and that means Susan should be here. Hello, Suze.
Good morning.
Georgia.
I was going to sing, and then I thought really better of it.
I was going to sing, yes, and then I thought, I think you could find someone who could do it a little bit better.
I know. I mean, I'm really thinking of joining a barbershop quartet because I could do bass now.
Da-da-da-da, Mama played fiddle, right on low. Who did that? Somebody sang bass? I don't know. Screw it.
Papa sang bass.
I suppose he did. Well, here we are. My stomach's in a twist.
I know, and we aren't going to even know anything by the end of the night.
No. And even when we do know something, people won't believe it.
Scream foul, right?
Yeah.
The only thing that I'm enjoying is that at least the Republicans are scared. I mean, I'm not allowing myself to even believe we've got a shot. So if we've at least scared the Republicans, good.
Well, speaking of Republicans, I want to note two things that I don't know about two. I have been saying since forever, it seems, that the Republicans and Donald Trump, because the Republican Party does not exist anymore. It is the Trump Party. That's quite clear. And those who want to preserve what maybe used to be a Republican Party are going to have to go and make their own party. I don't think there's any doubt about that. You've got this Trump Party, and he controls most of what was the Republican Party, but he is in no way, shape, or form anymore. It's gone, and people have to, especially Republicans, have to, I think, acknowledge that. But
just like good Muslims, you have to separate.
What?
I'm sorry. Do you remember back in the beginning when way decades ago, when we were at war with varying factions, and Americans would tell people
they had to be good Muslims.
Yeah, to stand up and separate themselves from the terrorists.
Well, but they do.
They do. But the Republicans just melted away. The good ones just sort of.
Well, I mean, I thought, what they can call themselves? The people who used to, in fact, be legitimate conservatives. What they need to do is form a conservative party. That's what it is. You leave the Republican Party, and I'm sorry for Abraham Lincoln and Teddy Roosevelt and Dwight Eisenhower and some of the good people who served this country. Yeah, but it's gone. It's over, and you don't have to take it from me. You can take it from some, Republicans and some of the more conservative Republicans. And in fact, you have George Will today in the Washington Post literally saying this. And, you would think, oh, that's over. If I say it, people would say, well, that's Cullen. She's ranting and raving. But I said it yesterday. These guys just the other day held up their hands and again took an oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. the one that the majority of House Republicans and this ton now of Republican senators are about to, kick to the curb that oath with the stunt they're going to pull tomorrow. And George Will said this today. On Wednesday, the members of the Howley, Cruz, Ted Cruz, what's Howley's first name? John? Josh Howley cohort will violate the oath of office in which they swore to defend the Constitution from enemies, foreign and domestic. And then George Will says this: they are its most dangerous domestic enemy.
Yes.
George Will is calling two Republican senators who represent what is now the Republican Party, the Trump Party. He says they are the most dangerous domestic enemies that they supposedly are sworn to defend us from. So there is little doubt. And I just want to add one more paragraph from Paul Krugman today. The modern GOP is unlike anything we have seen before in American history. If there's anyone who wasn't already persuaded that one of our two major political parties has become an enemy, not just of democracy, but of truth, events since the election should have ended their doubts. Okay, so now there's Krugman. You've got George Will, a very conservative Republican, and you have Paul Krugman, a liberal Democrat, and both saying that the Republican Party now represents the enemy of our democracy. And it's not hyperbole. They are saying that. They mean it. The Republican Party is the enemy of our country.
Well, and John Danforth had to write a piece in the St. Louis paper that answering as to how he could have endorsed this man and basically, saying that what he's doing is wrong. I would have had him do it even more forcefully, but it was fairly forceful for these polite Danforth types.
Well, he should have. I hope he beat himself up. I mean, because
no. We are excused.
Oh. Well, I have to tell you. Meanwhile, again, it's sometimes because we're in the midst of this, we are here in this country that is under attack from one of our own political parties and by the president of the country. Folks over in Europe looking at this, looking at us since Saturday's phone call by Trump, are freaking out. They thought they had it down. They thought they knew how nuts and narcissistic Trump was and how obsequious the Republicans were. But they listened to that call too. And they're watching the sort of insurrection the president is creating. The potential violence he is.
Well, they know what a coup looks like.
Yes, exactly. And in Germany, what freaked them out the most was that letter signed by every man who had ever held the title Secretary of Defense of the United States who is still alive,
right.
And there are 10 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody from a Dick Cheney, to, I don't know, the most liberal of them. And when they saw that these 10 guys across the political spectrum who knew the job of, what it is to defend the country, that they felt that this time that they needed to, in fact, warn the people in the Pentagon is, the German said that, here's a quote from one of the Germans, that they saw a reason to write such a letter is shocking.
Right.
And it's frightening because they are, another one says, it is really scary because we don't know who else in the Pentagon is not cooperating now, because Trump's, the guy he has right now, they're not cooperating with the transition. So Biden will take over as our commander-in-chief without knowing what every other president has known going in, knowing all the stuff he's supposed to know.
I mean, you would think that there would be, and there should be after this, if no one thought they had to write this down, it should be against the law, because to deliberately hobble the government of the next administration,
it's what an enemy does.
It's what an enemy does. It would be at its basis unconstitutional.
Yeah. So over in Europe, they're now recalibrating because, like us, they're freaked at Trump's continuing hold on what was the Republican Party. Well, it is the Republican Party. And the fact that that party holds so much power in this country, from in the states. I mean, in some states, that's all that is there are Republicans from top to bottom. And in the federal government, if the election in Georgia today doesn't go as we hope it will, they will still hold the Senate of the United States. You can argue they have the Supreme Court of the United States. And so if these people are actually enemies of our democracy, then we're about finished. It's not like they're trying to take over. In many respects, they have a pretty good hold. And the fact that Trump will not go anywhere and how he continues to threaten Republicans. Last night in his deranged whatever he was doing in Georgia.
Oh, he was rallying.
Yes, rallying. He told the crowd that he'd be back in a year and a half to campaign against their governor, who is, of course, a Republican. He is
because
going
to put Stacey Abrams in where she should be.
No, he'll primary him. So he'll keep moving this to people who have fealty only to Trump. Anyway, the European take, and I think it's not incorrect, is that with Donald Trump in or out of office, continuing to have such a hold over the party and such a hold over, 80 million Americans? It shows that, one of them says, it shows that it will be incredibly difficult to govern the United States.
Yeah, it will.
For years. I mean, it's not going to be able to be done.
It's one of the reasons that we have to look long and hard at what we do through the legal system. Because, the only way to pull the country back towards real norms, based on, what a norm is supposed to be based upon, the only way to do that is to punish the behavior that wrenched us away, and not be, not say that this was okay and blah blah blah. It was not. Laws were broken. Treason, frankly, was obviously committed, and it needs to be acknowledged with the correct terms, be charged, and 3, litigated, and 4, the perpetrators punished in order for for the country to go on. Other countries had to go through this. Germany had to go through this. South Africa had. You have to go and look at what you've done wrong and fix it. And we have to do the same.
We're not going to.
I know, and it's not where
we still can't come to terms with our history. We can't come to terms with our history as it is before even this.
Yeah.
So no, we are not up to that task of difficult soul searching.
You can't just step over the heaping pile of shit in the middle of the living room rug and try and govern in front of it and pretend like the stench and the stain is not directly behind you. You can't.
Oh, watch them, Suze. Watch them.
Well,
Krugman says this, lots of people compare this Republican Party now to an organized crime or a cult. He says, but to me, the Republicans today look more like the Lost Boys in Lord of the Flies. They're feral. They don't get news from the outside world. They get their information from partisan sources that simply don't report any inconvenient
and they make
facts.
Up their rules as they go along. They
true.
eat their own young.
That is true. And the most important thing is to demonstrate loyalty to the tribe. And Krugman says the big question is how long America, as we know it, can survive in the face of this malevolent tribalism. And I know this is depressing as hell, but let's be clear. He finishes by saying, and unless something happens to break the grip of anti-democratic, anti-truth forces in the Republican Party, they will one day succeed in killing the American experiment. They're destroying our country. A friend asked me, do you have any friends that you know voted for Trump? And I said, no, I don't know any people I call friends who voted for Trump. And she said, I do. And I'm starting to be queasy about, I said, I have to tell you, I don't think I could be friends with somebody who voted for Trump, for somebody who was part of this destruction.
And for those who doubled down as it continued, I mean, anybody that was still there at the end, I'm sorry, you've either decided that your pocketbook is more important than anything else.
Oh yeah. See if it helps you in the end. See if it helps.
Yeah, I mean, if that's
your bottom line.
If you're going to walk through life going, I'm a social liberal but a fiscal conservative, and when push comes to shove, I have to go with the fiscal. I say no. When push comes to shove, you give up the money.
That's right.
And you save
and
the
go
people.
With the humanity. And go with humanity.
And save the people. So it's when you go the other way, why don't I have a right to question your character?
Well, I would agree. And frankly, my friend said the one woman she was thinking about, highly educated woman. I was shocked when she told me she was a Trump voter because I vaguely know this woman. And she said that she describes herself exactly that. That's what they always do.
Uh-huh.
Fiscal conservative and social liberal.
Right.
And it's that social liberalism that brings them maybe into the orbit of, somebody like me. And, what do we know about somebody's, 401k and, what their finances are? So it's easy for, I guess, a lot of people.
Well, for people that have money in the stock market over the last 4 years, even a small amount of money is a third larger, or in some cases, even more if you were heavily invested in lucky places, who knows? But
it makes me puke.
I know.
I have to tell you, it makes me puke that the rich have gotten richer during this horror. And the people who need don't have shit in the stock market. They don't have anything in it. And I so hate our system.
It's really,
despise it.
unless you look at it and you go, okay, I'm going to just take a chunk of that and, do what Jeff Bezos' wife did, and just ex-wife, and just put, 40 billion out there. Well, look here, and I'm sure she's kept 3 or 4 for herself anyway, and it'll be just fine.
Oh, yeah. No, she did the right thing, and I hope she keeps doing it.
I do too.
But there are few and far between. Okay, so we need a little bit of lightheartedness.
Well, okay, let me just end there. There's more of them than you think. There's actually groups of inheritors of wealth that have banded together and to figure out ways to do good, like Walt Disney's granddaughter,
right?
Who has so much to, who figures you just can't change the guy, but
Suze,
you can
the
give away
fact
the
that
money.
you know about her, I mean, she's a rarity. She made news because it's odd. It's not the norm.
No, Ivanka's the norm.
Yeah. Well, she might. God, I hope she's over on the other edge. I don't know. Hey, one of the things. This is just for anybody who wants that. I hope we can find it. And I'm telling in George Will's column today, there was a link. He was going after Pence, and there's a link to a video I somehow missed that is mind-blowing. And it shows the obsequiousness in 6 seconds. And it's at some meeting, I think it's a FEMA meeting, and Trump is at the head of the table, and all the other guys are, on the sides, Pence next to him. And Trump takes his water bottle and for some reason puts it on the floor. Pence immediately takes his water bottle and puts it on the floor. It is so bizarre to watch. It is so unbelievably creepy. And I hope
Stepford vice president.
Well, it really is. I mean, it says, the fact that Will thinks it says, here's a picture that's worth a few 100 million words. It is mind-blowing. And decidedly scary. So yesterday, Susan, I decided, because it's a heavy news kind of week, that maybe I should check in and see if anything was going on. I think it was about, mid-afternoon. And I put on CNN, and whoa, what luck. I turned it on just as they went to the news conference that this Georgia election official, George Sperling, Gabriel Sterling, I'll get his name right.
He is very eloquent.
Oh my God. And off the top of his head, and by the way, if you listen to him, he talks so fast. It's like a mile a minute, rat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat, no notes, just unbelievable facts, figures, numbers.
He knows his stuff. He knows from whence he speaks. And he really, and this is now the second time we've watched him from that same location.
Right.
To, speak totally eloquently and convincingly and well, and
obviously. With passion. Yeah. And with humanity and passion.
As does the guy doing the translation for the deaf. He's wonderful.
Really? Oh, okay. I didn't notice. But I mean, by the way, Gabriel Sterling, the whole time I'm looking at him thinking, I just sort of like him by looking at him, and then I thought, I know why. He looks like Roger Ebert.
A better looking Roger Ebert.
But yes, he looks like Roger Ebert.
Mm-hmm.
And I trusted Roger Ebert, and I liked Roger Ebert, and I sort of, all of a sudden, here was an iteration of Roger Ebert. But it made me wonder.
I like him because he's one of those Republican guys that I've been friends with from the time that I was a little girl.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's be clear. His boss, the Secretary of State, Raffensperger, right?
Right.
Whose
Who does
family
not have a brother named Don.
And his family's being terrorized. And I'm sure Sterling's family is as well. I mean, to the point that his one of his adult children, Raffensperger's adult children's home was broken into. That's scary. If they're going after his children and entering their homes. But I have thought that this Raffensperger was just, wow, this is extraordinary man to stand up to the guy he voted for. He wanted Trump to win. He voted for Trump. He is as conservative Republican as you can get. And I'm sitting here and loving him, listening to him on that phone call and listening to everything he said after. But here's something. And
wait a minute, they're two different guys.
No, I know.
Okay, Sterling is the guy that was trying to say. Okay, all right.
I'm talking about the Secretary of State, Raffensperger.
Okay, right, I know. Okay.
And who took the hour-long criminal phone call from Trump.
Right.
And I've heard him since be interviewed. But it took me a while to realize, wait a minute. This is the guy who I hated because he is the one, Kemp, the governor, had his position, was Secretary of State when Kemp ran against Stacey Abrams for governor. Kemp, of course, famously won, maybe, who knows, after Kemp and this guy, Raffensperger, did everything they could, and they're good at it, to suppress
the vote in Georgia.
The vote. So Raffensperger, who is, by the way, he was a multimillionaire businessman. He's an engineer by training. He started his political career in Atlanta's city council. But he was the one who, do you remember those lines outside of the polling places when Abrams ran, all in black communities? That was him. That was him.
Yep.
So what it does is it shows me that somebody who right now I am admiring, and I am admiring him because he is doing the right thing now. And I was trying to think, what is it about somebody like him who now is willing to stand against all his political friends? I mean, he's committing political and professional suicide.
Well, because now he personally is having his integrity questioned,
right,
and he ain't going there.
That's correct. And this is what I was thinking, because the profiles in courage we have seen from Republicans
pop up conveniently
have come from not the senatorial level, not the Washington level, very few governor level, really not. And where you see Republicans who voted for Trump standing up are in these lower level state and local situations where their integrity has been called into question, their professionalism, their ability to do their job. They take their jobs seriously. They did their jobs. And then they have the president and members of Congress saying that they didn't. And that is why you're seeing, exactly, they are saying, you're wrong, and you're defaming not only me, but all these wonderful people that work for me, who work hard.
Right, and who did the job and did it right, and we lost.
Right, and that's what is putting them in the position, given a choice between doing the bidding of the guy they want in office or standing up for the people that they work with and who they know.
Versus Missouri's Josh Hawley, who
exactly
is whining today.
Oh, he is despicable.
Well, and there were something like 15 to 30 at the most protesters in front of his home.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And they were just talking through a megaphone, and they left a copy of the Constitution, and he screams that they vandalized their Antifa thugs.
I saw that. Yeah.
And the cops were standing there peacefully. I mean, come on.
Well, God Almighty.
Let's look at what they did to him. Look at what they did to the Michigan, the Michigan governor. I mean, now there would be some domestic terrorism.
Well, today in Washington, you got the National Guard poised. You have Trump hoping that there is violence in the streets today, tomorrow, maybe after, depending on the Georgia vote, who knows. And he's got 2 more weeks in office. And anyone who thinks he's going to somehow pull back in those remaining, 15 days he has? No. So it's why you've got these 10 former defense secretaries coming out and saying what they did, because they're worried he's going to try to do something that will allow him, a la General Flynn, to call out the military, to put down domestic strife. And that's what those defense secretaries were saying. Don't do that. There's a greater, you're serving the Constitution, not this extremely lame duck president. Well, okay, enough of this. So, Susan.
Yes.
I remember saying this a while ago, because it must have been in the science section at one point, but I want to see if you remember, and there's no way you will, why a beetle, which has a Latin name I can't pronounce, but a beetle that frogs like to eat, what that particular beetle can do to save itself if a frog grabs it. There's no way you remember this.
Oh, I'm not going to remember it. I'm just going to make something up.
What did you do?
Can it blow itself up very, very, very large so that it forces the frog's mouth open and then it gets out?
That's good. But that's not it. But that's good.
Okay.
Okay. What it does is it ends up allowing itself to be swallowed.
And comes out the other end.
And then it has some kind of capacity to stay alive as it goes through whatever the digestive tract is. And then it has something where it forces the frog to poop it out.
Mm-hmm.
And so it does emerge unscathed, if a little bit
Well,
of...
I knew it had to get in and get out somehow. I just didn't want to have to make it go through the digestive tract. But I'm sure its shell just goes around it and protects it from those juices, and then out it comes.
I saw something the other day about some kind of ant that if it's under some kind of threat while it is on a slope, that it rolls itself into a ball and just
Goes wee.
Yeah, right. Just rolls down the hill. I mean, I love this kind of stuff. Okay, I have, let's see, what do I have? Okay, I've got 3 other things to see how much Susan can use your imagination.
Okay, can I just tell you one thing while I'm watching my dog get used to winter for the first time, in his 6-year life. I mean, a prolonged winter with snow. And first he didn't like it at all. Now we can't walk at all because he spends all of his time with his nose straight down in the snow. We'll walk a step,
sure.
and then the nose goes down, and then we'll walk a step, and the nose goes down.
Well, how could he not have known from snow in Chicago?
Because we for most of his memory life, he's been driven to California with me.
Ah, that's true. Okay, so Susan.
Anyway, I'm just telling you because I was.
That's okay because it's cute.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before the Industrial Revolution, what were, if you name 2, this is great. What were the principal sources of noise?
Carriages and horses clomping down cobblestones and human voices yelling.
Those are both good. They're not in my answers, but those are both good. Those would definitely, be sources of noise.
Well, what? Brass bands? What?
Well, you're close. Church bells.
Church bells, okay.
Church bells. And
but were church bells going incessantly? That's
not incessant. No, it didn't say incessantly. What were normally, the church bells went off quite a bit, I think, and there were lots of churches. So church bell, it was quiet.
That's why I would think if you were in London, the most constant thing would be hearing, the sounds
human
of
voices,
traffic and voices.
Yeah, I think that's true. They say cannons going off and thunder. I think the point being that before the Industrial Revolution, guys, it was quiet.
No, right. So they aren't talking about, they're talking about the loudest things you might have ever heard.
Thunder, cannons,
and church bells. Not just noise. They're talking about the loudest things you could have possibly heard. And that's true. There's no jets, doing a sonic boom.
There's no combustion engines.
No.
There's none of those things.
There's none of the mechanical screeching and clanging that we've
gotten
accustomed to.
There's no effing leaf blowers. Yeah? Right.
Or snowmobiles. Remember when they invented snowmobiles? This is how old we are. We remember when they invented snowmobiles, and one of the most precious things about winter was the quality of its silence.
Yeah, when the snow blankets everything, it's just a different kind of silence.
It's a different kind of audible silence. I don't know how to make it any clearer than that.
Yeah.
But suddenly, that gorgeous non-sound sounded like this.
I know. Or it's the same as if you're sitting by a beautiful, pond or a lake, and someone comes by in a whatever jet ski. It's just like, why do humans love to make these jarring noises that completely pollute other people's pleasure of nature is just beyond me. It's beyond, I was shocked. Why am I shocked? Because I forgot. Susan, people didn't used to set off fireworks on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, they did.
No, they didn't. When we were young, I don't remember.
No. Not when we were young, but they have for years in the cities that I've lived in.
Well, it just annoys the holy hell out of me. I just want to say that.
Here's the annoying part. If what you like about fireworks, I say this all the time, if what you like are the beautiful colors, you don't need to have the boom. The boom is added.
It's manufactured, right?
But
they like the boom.
And it obscures the colors because it creates black smoke.
Yeah, you're right. But Susan, the people like the boom. It's guys. I don't think this is a guy thing.
It's a guy thing, and they like to make sounds that sound like guns. And why anybody thinks that that's a fun sound anymore, I don't know.
No, it's beyond me. Not to mention that it terrifies tons of animals and wakes old people up who've already gone to bed. Okay, I'm done being the old lady.
Well, and sitting in Green Bay, I've been telling people that I learned another downside of fireworks, which is if during a local a Packer game that's being held at Lambeau Field, if I am out walking the dog and I hear fireworks, I go, oh, we scored. The game must have started. So I run home, and sure enough, there was a score. And then I'm watching the game, and I hear fireworks, and I went, well, crying out loud, they're going to throw a pass, obviously, and score. Boom, they throw a pass and score. So if you're living in Green Bay during this strange time and nobody's in the stadium, it's spoiling the pleasure of watching the game because most people in Green Bay will be able to hear those fireworks. It's not that big a place.
Right. So you hear the fireworks and you know, we're about to score.
30-second delay between the event and the airing on television.
Oh, God. All right, Susan, it's another quiz. What are the two most dangerous professions in the United States?
Motherhood.
Wrong.
Okay, wait a minute.
It isn't paid. It has to be paid.
It has to be paid. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Two most dangerous professions. Well, it can't be the obvious of policemen.
It can't be the obvious of policemen and firefighters, right?
Or a soldier.
Right. The ones that we always talk about, right?
Right. I'm eliminating those. Now I'm going through a whole other cadre. I'm going to say truck driver, and maybe construction workers, especially highway workers.
Well, those are two good picks, but you're incorrect. So I want to ask you to...
Geez, I'm going 0 for 0 today.
Well, but these are hard. I didn't expect you. So here's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about, in both these instances, these professions, you really rarely see someone doing them. And they are out. They are not...
mine worker and oil
they're not
workers.
Urban. Well, mine worker is a good one, but it is not one of them. But that's a good one because that'd be way up there too. They're not urban.
Okay, so all those farmers where their tractors roll over?
No, although I think they're high up too, but those are not the two. Huh.
Okay, rural?
Well, I'm not going to say rural, not urban.
Well, okay, as I said, suburban housewife, that doesn't work.
Okay.
Bank teller? Grocery worker. And
middle school teacher. I don't know. Let's see.
That was my joke, though, the first time I went in for a massage, and I was with you, actually. It was at when we took that weekend at that place, Lynn Cullen. and
Emma Cullen.
I was getting my first actual massage, and I just lying there naked in front of this brawny woman. It was sort of terrifying, and she kept ordering me, like a concentration camp guard.
Oh, for God's sake!
Relax. And finally, I said, in my line of work, it's very hard. If you relax, you're dead meat. And she said, "Really? What do you do?" I said, "I'm a wife and a mother."
That reminds me of, I once got a massage too. I'm always forcing people. I love them. Forcing
I've gotten better.
Unwanted people, people who don't. I can't even understand somebody not wanting a massage. And my friend Sally,
right?
We were once. This is so long ago. We were once in California, and we were getting a massage, and it was in this big. We were both in the same room, so I could hear her masseuse. My masseuse wasn't saying a word. We were just, we were just. Every once in a while, I might moan in pleasure. All I could hear throughout this entire thing was Sally's masseuse saying, "Just relax. Now, just try to relax. Can you relax your leg? Come on, just try to." And I thought, oh my God. Oh my God.
It's very hard for some of us to give up control. But okay, one last massage story. I was with a friend again in I think it was in Santa Fe, and there's another famous spa called 4,000 million steps or something, and you have to walk up the steps, at which point you definitely need the damn massage that you've gone in for. So we get there, and she's booked what she thinks is a massage for two, and they think is a couple's massage. Which becomes clear, and she's getting more and more horrified that they think that we're together. And meanwhile, I'm just laughing because they're literally covering me in olive oil and then putting very rough salt on me, and I'm going, just roll me over in the fire. I'll just be great. And then they gave us one shower, and Joan at that point, just like blew her gasket.
Yeah, right. Well, she has to be more careful when she makes her appointments next time.
Well, I just thought it was so amusing that she was so horrified by it. I mean, nothing really happened. So anyway, okay, enough about massage stories. How did we get there, I ask you?
I don't know. I think it was your way of trying to get away from what are the two most dangerous professions in the United States.
What are they? So one of them is not a masseuse.
No. Shall I do it?
Yeah.
You want to know?
Yeah.
Okay, the second most dangerous profession is logging.
Oh, yeah, trees fall on you and stuff.
I guess they do. Jeez. The first is fishing.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, so there you are. And,
well, and I got to say, I've never liked either.
Well, you said either. You don't say either.
You say
my son
either.
Says either. My
either.
son says either to annoy me. And he says
whatever comes out of my
to
mouth.
annoy me. He does all those what I think ridiculous. God forbid he starts saying tomato or something. Okay, we got to get some emails in here, Susan.
Yes, ma'am.
Paul writes, I fully support Susan, stating that you have a right to question someone's character when they support Trump or his administration. I question my sister, how she can claim to be evangelical and still support this horrific man. I didn't question voting for him, but to watch her continue to support him makes me shake my head. She has refused to speak to me since last spring when we had our conversation. Then she unfriended me on Facebook, and she still insists that Hillary murdered those men Ozzy. I have lost no sleep over this. I have several friends that support Trump, but we have adult conversations without dismissing one another. Oh, wow. Oh, that's
very sad.
Yeah. Bree writes, my neighborhood has fireworks every few weeks. Oh, God. Oh, he's in
They've
Thailand.
been doing that during the pandemic.
Right. So, I'm sorry, not Thailand. Where are you? I forget all of a sudden. Malaysia. So many public holidays. It is so annoying. They do it even at Christmas. I'm not kidding. Well, weren't those Asians the one that invented fireworks?
Them, yeah.
And Lynn writes, you have hit upon my bête noire. Whoa. I often long for the quiet of the world before the invention of the engine. Oh, yeah. There is now a constant hum in the world that you have to go quite far into the wilderness in order to avoid. It's almost impossible to get away from it. Our poor ears were not made for this onslaught. They are tuned to hear the slightest rustling of leaves, not the roar of leaf blowers. I would say Happy New Year, but that remains to be seen. Lynn says, a loyal fan who has a dog named Blue. Yeah. We have a caller. Hello.
Hi, Lynn. It's Jeff.
Jeff.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you and Susan. It will be a better. I don't know if it's going to be a Happy New Year, but it's got to be better.
Okay.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Don't jinx it. That's all we're saying.
Yeah, I'm spitting over my shoulder. I'm throwing salt around. I know.
On the subject of noise, may I add dirt bikes, Harley Davidson, and quads.
Wait. Dirt bikes and what? What were the other?
Quads, those quad runners.
Right.
I live in Greenfield over the hill from Hazelwood, so we hear the traffic on Carson Street on the other side of the river. On 2nd Avenue. And it can, seriously, at 4 o'clock in the morning, it can get obnoxious. It's worse. It's actually worse than the trains, I think, because I've got.
I love trains. That noise never bothered me.
There's an Amtrak that comes in around 5 o'clock in the morning. There's one guy who just lays on the horn. I mean, he just it's time to get up. Everybody wake up. And I mean, he lays on the horn. There's another guy that he kind of makes it sing. He plays real low. He's you could see he's really finessing the horn whistle on the train. It's actually
you know what
cool.
though? No, I want to tell you something. I think they have specific orders of horn blowing when you're an engineer like that. You have to approaching certain intersections or whatever places. There's a certain kind of long maybe one you do, or then there's a bup 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 one you do, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay,
and so and I can't argue with that. But Susan's story about walking the dogs while the Packers play, it provoked a memory. So my mom, when she was alive, and I was staying with her while she was in at-home hospice, she had an extension for her doorbell. It kind of sat on top of the doorbell. And when someone would ring the doorbell would cause a vibration, which would then send a signal to another device in her bedroom while she was laying in bed. And it would go off and she would hear the doorbell. So because it reacted on vibrations, sometimes if you're running the vacuum cleaner, it would go off. And sometimes if you would just step on the floor real loud, it would go off. So I'm staying with my mom up there. She's in bed reading the newspaper. She read it from, front page all the way to the back. She's reading the newspaper. I'm watching the Penguin game. Pens are in a hot game. They score a goal, and I yell out really loud, "Yeah!" And the doorbell goes off because of me yelling. And she's in the other room. She said, "Jeff, somebody's at the door. Answer the door." And I said, "No, Mom, sorry. It was just me yelling," and I set off the doorbell by yelling. So then, anytime the doorbell would go off, she said, "Oh, did the Penguins score a goal?"
Aw.
Yeah, it's a cute story.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
The best to both you, and thanks for helping to keep me sane. Through that.
Oh, God.
You know what?
You're in big trouble if I've helped you stay sane.
Lynn, I've been listening to you since the first time I listened to you. I just happened to be flipping around the radio station. It was in 92 or 91 during the first Gulf War. And I heard you talking about it, and I was hooked. And so I've been listening ever since. So,
I reeled you in like one of those death-defying Fisher people.
You sucked me right in, and thank you.
Well, it's been good hearing your voice for all the time.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
You know, I just want to say we started on such a glum note because we were dealing with a certain reality.
Person, right.
Not just person, a whole bunch of them. But I just want to say that I really needed to, get away from that a little bit. And I'm so happy that we've been able to laugh somewhat. I have one more silly fact, Susan.
Okay. Let me fail again. I treasure
No,
it.
there's no way. No, there's no way you can get this. No way you can get this. There's a guy named Richard Scherer who was an engineer, and quite an engineer, because he holds the patent. Well, he was first on the patent for Lockheed's F-117 stealth aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
So that's quite an engineer. He made a plane. I guess you can't see. I don't quite understand it, but you can't see on radar, right?
You can't see on radar, right? It's not like you can't see it, but you can't.
Yeah, but how is that possible? You can't see it on radar.
Listen, if I knew, I would have invented it. Don't ask me to.
Jeez. All right. So
it puts on its invisibility cloak. Go ahead, and that's probably exactly what it does with some sort of
it's
got some sort of electronic invisibility cloak, and we'll go with that. Go ahead.
All right. Susan makes stuff up real good. Then he also liked to do moonlighting work on stuff that wasn't quite as heavy duty. So he also designed one of the rides at Disneyland.
Okay.
You want to take a stab?
Yeah.
The guy who did the stealth aircraft.
I hope it's not the one. It's not the one that it's a small world.
No. It's a small world after all. Man, if you're not ready to commit suicide after that one.
I know.
Oh, geez.
But I didn't get sick. That was all I cared about.
Yeah, well, that's true. You don't get sick. You just get insane.
I don't know, the mountain thing.
No, let's stay with, since he's into aeronautics.
Okay. So what else had a rocket ship? I don't know.
You can't think.
I don't know, Lynn.
It is a ride. It's a ride that I remember taking and still managing to get queasy on. Dumbo, the flying elephant.
Oh, Dumbo, the flying elephant. I forgot about Dumbo.
Which did next to nothing.
No,
it went up and down a little bit and went around, and I still came off, sort of green. Just can't handle any kind of movement. So that's sort of an odd little fact that the same guy who did the stealth bomber did Dumbo.
But what's to invent? It's just a pole with arms going up and down.
I don't know. I've got this from the paper of record, the New York Times.
Okay.
So there you have it. So, oh God, Georgia.
I know. how could it be that when the election was over, the election wasn't over, and now it comes to this, and we know that we still have to wait? I mean, this has just been excruciating.
Okay. So I have one thing to end on. And this is also from the New York Times today, where they talk about some of the independent films you might want to check out on some of the streaming services. And here's one. I'm just going to read their little synopsis. This is on Amazon. It's called Butt Boy. And the genre is a comic thriller. And it's about a boy named Chip who goes in for a routine medical checkup and discovers that he enjoys having things inserted into himself. This is a movie. Susan?
You're recommending this?
I'm just the New York Times is.
I mean,
hang on. I want to go on. The director.
Let me wonder where we go in this movie. Okay.
The direction and screenplay takes after introducing. Well, I don't know. This information is difficult to convey, but suffice it to say that objects begin disappearing in the movie, and then pets, and then people. And it says, as Butt Boy attempts to not only send up the killer next door narrative, but also cop movies and addiction melodramas. It doesn't all work, and a strong stomach is certainly required to watch it. But Butt Boy is unapologetically what it is, and you can't help admiring the filmmaker's stubborn determination to go all the way with their insane premise.
Okay, no, thank you. I mean, that's fine.
You're not going to watch Butt Boy?
No, I don't think so. Once I could have taken a small puppy, but a whole person, I don't think.
All right. Well, I think we're sort of done. Thank you, Susan.
We've managed to while away. Oh, over. Okay, bye. I got to get ready.
I know. Got to go hit somebody. I know. Okay. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye. And all right, you guys. We'll talk tomorrow. God help us all. It's going to be a consequential, historic day in America, and not for any good reason. Okay? Stay safe. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.